There's never been a better time for physical products than now. My name is Dallin Drubay, and I want to learn from the best minds in the industry. This is the golden age for consumer products. This is a time where anyone can go from zero to financially independent. This is the physical products movement. Welcome to the physical products movement. My name is Dallin Drubay. I am your host. This podcast is powered by Fiddle Inventory, the best, the fastest, the most innovative inventory management software to ever hit the market. These guys are disrupting this industry. No more hefty servers, no more unresponsive customer support. Fiddle is cloud-based, so nothing will get in the way of your production. And Fiddle's created a one-of-a-kind Kanban or Trello board view, so you can see your work orders and sales orders in the most clear way possible. And the best part is, Fiddle is free. It has room to grow and paid plans as you go. But if you want to get started, there's no lengthy demos, no binding contracts, and the free lasts forever. Free trials are a thing of the past. So go to fiddle.io/podcast today to see the latest episodes of this podcast and also to get started. Well, first and foremost, could you introduce yourself and your background for us?
For sure. My name is Lance Williams. I currently work in a company called Gravel. One of the co-founders there with a guy named Chris Livingston, one of my best friends, and it's a great time. We make bunch of travel products and stuff, and then do a lot on Kickstarter and whatever else. How much of my background do you want?
As much as you want to share. It's just interesting to me. I think it's cool that you had the guts to go into starting your own product.
For sure. Yeah, so, I mean, for me, I've always been a kid that just thinks a little bit different. So I never did that good in school, even though I really loved learning. But I just was like, wait, why am I learning this math that I'm never going to learn? And instead of, most kids have those thoughts, I think, and then they're just like, well, my parents told me to do it. But I was just like, nah, I'm not into it for some reason.
Not for me.
Thinking back on it was really weird. It's like, okay, I tried, in junior high, I was like, okay, I'm going to study super hard for this test. It was geography, I think. I was like, I'm going to study super hard, and I'm going to kill this test. I'm going to show my parents I can do a great job.
Yeah.
And literally studied for a couple nights straight. Whatever came in, failed the test.
Oh, dude.
Screw that. I'm never studying again. So I literally never studied for a test again. And
Amazing.
That's why I didn't do that great in school, probably. So that's kind of, I don't know, I've always been a different thinker. I've always been the dude that's in elementary school, I was crocheting beanies and selling them to my friends. And, junior high, I started a clothing company called Niche. And I would just write Niche on everything. So, anybody that was friends in junior high or high school with me knows about Niche.
That's awesome.
And then in high school, I started and even in my early 20s, I'd sew a lot of stuff and sell them, modify hoodies or I had screen print stuff myself. Anyway, so I was just always making some kind of business. Those businesses never made any money, but I just loved creating the business side of it. And that's still what I really love to do. My favorite part of the business is the brand new phase when I get a conceptual, what the brand is going to be perceived as. What kind of price points are we going to hit? Are we going to be premium or are we going to hit a super low price point? Are we going to be artistic? Are we going to be eco-friendly? Are we going to, and then building logos and all of that match that vibe. It's just my favorite thing to do. And product design, I guess.
Yeah.
That kind of fits in with that as well. So.
That's awesome. So do you feel like you fall more on the creative side of things as opposed to, kind of having an engineer brain?
Yes. Yeah, I would for sure say that. There's times in my life when I thought I wanted to be an engineer because even growing up, I got in a lot of trouble for just taking things apart that I wasn't supposed to.
Uh-huh.
But when something would break around the house, I remember my mom's hairdryer broke. And it wasn't just like a throw it away thing. It was like, oh, I'm going to give this to Lance to take apart. He loves taking apart stuff. So then I'd take it apart and like try plugging it in after I take it apart and like see, you know, how it all works. So I think I have some engineer in me, but detail-oriented stuff is not my jam, and I feel like they're usually pretty detail-oriented engineers.
It's awesome. Well, that's super cool. So what, you know, no one ever develops a product or, you know, a brand overnight. So what kind of led you into creating your products and starting this company?
So really, as I said, I've always kind of had a brand. So like 10 years ago is when maybe 8 years ago is when I launched my first official company and like ordered production of this shirt. It ended up failing miserably. I went from there and I started making these watches. Anyway, so I had these businesses that helped me to gain knowledge. Eventually I quit my full-time job, and my plan was to start this hammock company. And I ended up just doing whatever I could to make money. And that got me pretty heavily into video work, and then specifically Kickstarter video work.
Yeah.
So because I was diving into that, I started, I was a subcontracted employee for a Kickstarter marketing agency doing videos for them. So just in general, I kind of just dove into Kickstarter and Kickstarter marketing and learned it super well. So I was watching these sleeping bag hammocks, but it was such a niche, and they're for camping, and I really don't camp that much. So I was learning that wasn't really a company I was passionate about. I just really again, I conceptualized the company, even though it wasn't my niche. I conceptualized it, so I loved the branding and how this company was portrayed. But again, it didn't line up with me. So about that time, I knew all this stuff about Kickstarter. I wanted to launch something else. And I went to a Kickstarter marketing company, or a Kickstarter launch party.
Yeah.
This brand called Wandered. They're also in Utah, some of the best dudes ever. But I went to their launch party and gave away some hammocks there. And my business partner, Chris, was there. And we have a bunch of mutual friends, and he had this idea for a toiletry bag. So he was like, hey, I'm going to go. Everybody says I should meet this Lance guy because he knows a lot about Kickstarter. I have this idea for a toiletry bag. Maybe he'd want to partner. So, yeah, we ended up partnering on that, and that's what kind of launched Gravel. At the time, I was using Gravel kind of as my, the front for my videography business. And so we thought of other things like Yonder. But anyway, Yonder sounds a lot like Wandered, and those are our homies, so we're not going to use Yonder. Anyway. So, and they're, coming up with names is the hardest part, but I already loved the name Gravel. And so it was just all right, if this, let's just use Gravel. I don't need it for my video work necessarily. And I think it fits this, the branding of what I want to do for this company really well.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then once you guys had the idea, of course, it was just super easy. No problems came up, right?
Oh, yeah. It was like I Dream of Jeannie, just nod your head and it was there. It was great.
It's amazing. So how many, you talk about the toiletry bag. Can you tell us a little bit more about what products you guys have?
Yeah. So we started out with that small toiletry bag. We now call it the Slim. And launching that was honestly a pain. We designed it in 2 months or something, or 3 months. And then we held a focus group. We knew it wasn't really exactly what we wanted, but we wanted to hold a focus group early to get a good vibe for where it was at.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of we usually invite photographers and designers to those focus groups, not just the people who will use the product.
Oh, that's cool.
Because we also have to try and sell the product. So we want we want photographers and marketers to be there to be oh, this is going to be hard to sell kind of deal.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much what they told us. They're it's not there yet. These are the reasons why. At the time, it was a lot bigger. There wasn't a hang strap, so the marketability of it was pretty low. So we were crap. But they're we like the concept of it. just make it more marketable. So literally for like 3 or 4 months after that, we were just trying to figure out how to make it marketable. And anyway, eventually, I think I just got super sidetracked to your question. But eventually, we were able to change that and launch that. So that was the first toiletry bag. With that, we moved to Vietnam. Like after we launched that, we took the money, manufactured it, but then we were like, we want to develop more products. So I convinced Chris to quit his job, and we moved to Vietnam with our families to develop more products. And it came down to like a month before we were supposed to come home, and we hadn't developed anything. We were trying to develop the blanket that we eventually launched, but we weren't getting anywhere close. So we're like, crap, if we don't launch something before we leave, we have to go home and get jobs again.
Yeah.
Like that sucks. So in the last month, we developed the product, sampled the product. So we actually had a physical one in our. Honestly, the manufacturer looked at us. There's this dude, Jason, who works there, who's from Taiwan. And he looked at us like, you guys are crazy. There's no chance we're going to be able to launch sometime. We're like, Jason, we have to. So, like, let's do it. So, and fortunately, they got, sampling done. We filmed the whole Kickstarter. And then in 1 month, literally, we developed and launched the Kickstarter.
Awesome.
And that was the first one that, like, super took off. We ended up pre-selling like over $1 million, like $1.1 million in pre-sales on that. And that like is what kind of created Gravel. It's like, because before that, Chris and I were just kind of like, yeah, we'll create this kind of a passive thing that, we can run this on the side and like travel and it'll just kind of bring us some extra income. But once we did 1.1 million, it was like, actually it'd kind of be a shame to not like push this to the next level,
Yeah.
So that's when we started. Once we got that product, when we hired our first employees or like really started subcontracting out some talent to come help us out. And then then that spring we brought on even more people. That's when we brought on our designer and like really like finalized the blanket. And then that was our third product, was a travel blanket. So it's an insulated blanket that like stuffs down to like the size of a softball about, and then it can just like carabiner. Like it's a little bit smaller than like a hammock is or something. So those are our 3 main products right now. Within that, we designed these silicone bottles for traveling as well. So I guess we have 4 products. But our whole idea is like solve the problems that you have while traveling that nobody else is solving, but do it in a way that it's going to last a long time, be quality, and something like you're excited about and excited to use,
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. So how long after the Kickstarter went well, right? And you got your 1.1 million out of it, but how long after you launched your Kickstarter did you begin having your first sales?
So the Kickstarter, I think we launched in like April, maybe. Hard to remember. It was late spring or early summer when like it ended, and then we ended up getting products like around November or October, I think.
Oh, okay.
Of that year, so maybe like 6 months after we launched that. The first one was a little bit longer. We launched about the same time, but we got the product in December. We were like, okay, we'll get it in December. We'll ship it. It was supposed to come in November, but manufacturing stuff. So then it comes in December, and we're like, okay, we can still ship this out by Christmas. So we start shipping out as fast as we can. We get 1,500 orders out. It's like the second day of shipping, but it's my wife's birthday. So I told Chris, I was like, dude, sorry, I can't help ship today. My wife will kill me if I do. So I was with her, and he calls me, and he's like, I think he was literally crying at the time, or he started crying right after this, but he was like, dude, they sewed them all upside down. Like, what are you talking about? Like, every single one is sewn upside down.
Oh my gosh.
It was like, sorry, Jules my wife. Like, sorry, I have to go check this out. So we went, and literally all of them were sewn upside down. So we had to ship them all back to Vietnam. Fortunately, like, the broker company we were working with helped us out a ton and like covered a ton of those costs.
Good.
Or else travel would have been tanked right there. Like, it would have been over. So that one took a little bit longer because we had to ship back to Vietnam. But for the most part, we've shipped out like on time for our Kickstarter project. We've learned a lot over the last couple of years. And so, yeah, it usually takes like 6 months from the end of the Kickstarter, 4 to 6 months, end of the Kickstarter to when we're shipping. Something like that.
Awesome. Well, this is an amazing story. You make it all sound so simple.
I've been doing it for a long time. So for me, it's honestly, like even when it was sewn up, I was just slim because it was our first Kickstarter. It was sewn upside down, but it was like, okay, like from my experience, I kind of expected something to be wrong because with manufacturing, there's so many like details that go into it that almost always there's something wrong or something ended up different than you thought, or if it was perfect, then you waited too long, I guess. I don't know. Isn't there a quote by somebody like that? If you're not embarrassed by your first product, you waited too long.
Yeah. It's a good philosophy, though. It's true.
Huh. Yeah, especially for your first. Nowadays, the blanket was shipped out to everybody. Like, we still had to fix something ourselves before we shipped it out, but so everything has, I don't know, every manufacturing point, there's usually some kind of something that didn't go perfect.
It's true.
Right now, the coronavirus is really screwing over everybody right now.
It is, yeah. I was going to ask you about that. Has that affected your manufacturing at all?
Yeah, it's delayed some stuff, but we don't necessarily, like, we have stuff being produced in all of our stuff's in Vietnam right now that we're producing. Yeah. So, but a lot of the materials, buckles, a lot of that stuff is sourced in China. So sampling for this, we're launching a product this spring, and sampling that has been a pain because they're like, well, there's these buckles, but that factory's not responding, so we're going to have to use these. And it's like, oh, that one's not exactly what we want to use, but I guess that'll work for the Kickstarter project kind of thing. So that's where we're at with that. And then, yeah, I have a lot of friends in that are sourcing products and stuff, and it's been way rough on everybody.
I bet.
Because you don't really think, you think, okay, it's such, like, you're going to run out of your best-selling stuff. If it's delayed for too long. But then the thing you don't think about is your best-performing ads are featuring your best-selling stuff. So then all of a sudden you have to, like, either use ads that aren't performing nearly as well or redesign ads with some of your stuff that doesn't sell as well. But then, anyway, so there's like so many layers of stress to it than just like, oh, we're going to be out of stock for a little bit.
Right. You have to, it affects marketing and operations and everything. Revenue is affected. Yeah. It's
a way big deal. Fortunately for us, the only thing that's really been a big pain for us is trying to sample out this product that we're launching this spring. And that, anyway, so I'm actually heading to Vietnam tomorrow so that we can like finalize a bunch of stuff on it. It's been super delayed because they haven't been able to get materials and stuff until now. So.
It's a process.
Yeah. It's great though, honestly. Like, it sounds like a pain, and it is a pain, but life's great.
It's awesome. So do you guys, if you're manufacturing in Vietnam, do you have a warehouse here that you receive all the products?
Yeah. Yeah, so we run out of Eagle Box, which is in Orem. So they hold all of our products and ship them all out and stuff for us. Super awesome people.
That is awesome.
Like those dudes a lot. So, yeah, honestly, shipping is the worst thing about a business. Like, I don't want to deal with it. No matter what, there's going to be hiccups and errors and lost packages, and shipping sucks. Can't wait till Amazon fixes all of our shipping problems.
They're right there with all this drone stuff, and Amazon's insane. I was reading the other day that part of their intelligence is if you put an item in your cart, so you don't even purchase it, you just put it in your cart, that they will send it to your nearest distribution center before you finish the order. So
no way.
You can think about it, and they'll just send it over to the nearest distribution center. And if you don't buy it, they'll just send it back. But
that's great to know. So it's like, oh, I'm thinking about getting this. If I do get it, I'll need it in a hurry. So I'll just put it in my cart.
Yep.
So you get it easier and faster. That's rad. Amazon, they honestly, from a business, Amazon sucks to work with. But as a customer, they're incredible.
They do suck to work with as business. Have you guys tried to do any Amazon sales?
Yeah, we did for a little bit, but we need to figure out a better Amazon strategy. It was just cannibalizing a lot of our web sales.
Yeah.
So we'll be paying all this money, all this money in Facebook and Instagram ads to push it over to our website. And then people are like, okay, I'll look at this and then I'll go order on Amazon, which Amazon takes 20% versus, 2% plus $70 a month to Shopify. Shopify takes like 3.5% total, or probably less than that.
Yeah.
And it's like, versus the 20%. So we just couldn't justify the margin on Amazon. We were like losing money. So we pulled it off. We still are selling bottles. Still some bottles on there, but
yeah,
we need to revisit our Amazon strategy, I think.
Amazon's tough because to me it seems like Amazon's a great place for I don't know, this is probably going to come off wrong, but cheaper product, right? Like it's not
for sure.
So there's this little music shop that I helped get running, and they're based out of Springville, and they're still surviving. Like as all these music shops are shutting down, and it's because we started selling these little electric tuners through the shop, and they became one of Amazon's number one distributors for these tuners, and they're just these cheap, like one-off quick things, right? But and that's where it's good, right? But where you've got a unique product that has been you're marketing on social and you're driving traffic to your website, it does feel like it's a waste of time to then send them over to Amazon.
For sure. Well, honestly, I like your thought a lot of like Amazon's kind of a race to the bottom.
Yep.
Who can get the cheapest price point? And that's all anybody looks at. It's like, okay, this one has 3,000 reviews, it's 4 stars. This one has 3,000 reviews, and it has 4 stars. All right, what's cheaper,
Yeah.
And so these Chinese companies that just have a warehouse in the U.S. and are, that's who's going to win because they're manufacturing it and they're able to sell, they cut out that margin, that we have to build in because we're not the manufacturer, if that makes sense.
Right. So how do you feel like you guys have been able to craft your story and your design to lead to, sales conversions through your site? Because it sounds like you're doing awesome with that. A lot of people struggle though to get, sales through Shopify or sales through their own websites.
Yeah. So I think a big benefit that we have is that I did video for such a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of companies have to hire a videographer, and to get a good one, that's a few grand pretty easily.
Yeah.
You get a really good one, you're in like the $10,000+ and it's like it's really hard for a small company to justify even like $2,000 or $3,000 for an ad. So fortunately, I can create a ton of ads, and we can pump them out and really test a bunch of different things, do a bunch of different variants. And it's only costing my time, which is free to us because
Yeah.
So I think that's been a huge part. And then also just my knowledge of how to create Kickstarter videos. I think that comes into play with ads. Because really all you're trying to do is get somebody to imagine using it.
Mm-hmm.
The second you get somebody to imagine using it, they're sold. They're going to buy it. As long as they can afford it. Like if they can justify it at all, like it's an easy sale. So we kind of do that same thing with ads. We just want the things we really focus on is showing the product well. So you're like, you kind of imagine yourself hanging the toiletry bag up on the wall and like being able to grab your toothbrush shot really easy. The shot that like resonates with a lot of people. But then at the same time in those ads we include like some of the travels I've taken, like adventure videography. So it's like, you want them to think like of themselves traveling as well, like in our space. It's like, when I travel, I want it to be easy and simple. So this toiletry bag helps me to do that when I'm traveling. So it's kind of a mixture of all those things. The main thing is just getting them to imagine themselves using it. That's what sales is in general, I guess.
Yeah.
And marketing.
Well, that's awesome. So do you feel like the most critical part for your growth has been on the marketing focus on that side of the business?
Yeah, to some extent. I think the hardest part for us is for the last 2 years, we've been selling a toiletry bag and that's it.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, this toiletry bag is black and it's designed for men, not women's toiletries. Women still use it, but the majority of people buying it are men.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, we got men who are harder to sell to online. We've got a product that we purposely built so you're not buying more than one for yourself. You're buying one and it'll last you the next 30 years. So we kind of set ourselves up for failure in some ways, where it's like, it's a huge part of a lot of people's business is pulling people back for more and to buy more stuff through you.
Yeah.
Where thus far, the last couple of years, it's been a one and done. So that's what the blanket we just launched last November, so just a couple 3 or 4 months ago. And it's been incredible for our website because finally we're like, oh, hey, all those people that bought toiletry bags from us over the last 2 years, we have a new product. It's a blanket. But then we hit, all sorts of other snags because the blanket sells to 80% women. So then it's like, oh, actually they're not in the same market. We didn't do it. Oh, we were more excited about the idea of the blanket than like thinking, is this going to sell to our exact audience? And it's, we're a lot more organized now. We've pulled that together. So we're kind of, we're able to design stuff now for these audiences that we've built.
Yeah.
But, a year and a half, 2 years ago when we started designing the blanket and got kind of married to this idea, we weren't thinking about or doing in-depth research on the toiletry bag market,
Mm-hmm. Huh. Well, the thing that I think is inspiring talking to you, and I think will be, helpful for anyone listening that is aspiring to be involved in products, is just your confidence that you have. You just go do it. The story that you're presenting is, man, you work hard and you go and do it. I love it.
For sure.
Do you have
you read the 4-Hour Workweek?
I haven't.
So I haven't either. I started it and I'm like a quarter of the way through it as of 5 years ago or something. But there's a line in that like stuck with me hard.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, okay, if you're in your current day-to-day like full-time job, your happiness is probably like a 5, right? You're not miserable for the most part, but you're not you're not living your dream for most people.
Yeah.
It's just like a 5, maybe a 6 if you have a good atmosphere at your work, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you quit your job and try and like build this product or this idea that you have, the odds of you being a 5 or a 6 are super, super low.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you're probably going to be like a 7 or 8. Even if it fails, you're probably still 7 or 8.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I see no risk all of a sudden. Like, what's the risk? And then I chat with people all the time, like once or twice a week about, they have an idea for Kickstarter and they're like, I don't know, I'm scared to take the risk. I literally see no risk.
Yeah.
Like maybe a couple $100 you'll risk like making a sample. You'll risk some time, but you're going to be way more bummed if you hit 80 and you still have this idea from when you were 22.
Yep.
It's
true. I couldn't agree more. Do you have any last thoughts or words of wisdom before we let you go?
Just going along with that theme, like, just go do it. Like, what are you waiting for, It's never going to get easier, and it's never going to seem less draining. Like, just time to, at least go, if you have an idea for a product, just go make a sample. And then, start asking your friends about it. Just go do something. I guess that's my tip. I don't know where I got it from. But in one of the books I read or something said, if you have an idea, do something within the first 24 hours. And if it's not a good enough idea to motivate you to do it within the first 24 hours, then it's not a good enough idea. So I either start designing logos, start designing products. If I have an idea, I always start it within 24 hours. Just because I don't know. It kind of is if I'm not motivated enough, then it's easy to scratch. It's an easy line.
Yep. Huh.
So,
I love that. Let's do it in the first 24 hours. And if it's not good enough, then it will go away for you. Perfect. Okay.
yep.
So if any of our listeners wanted to connect with you or check out any of your products, where could I send them?
So our website is graveltravel.com, and then my email is lance@graveltravel.com. So feel free to shoot me an email. I honestly suck at email, but I also don't want to put my phone number on the internet that much.
Yeah.
So we'll stick to the email for now. And then honestly, I'm super down with I'm super down with chatting with people. I honestly do once or twice a week because my goal is to get to a point where I can spend the majority of my time just helping small businesses just for free, and like just because I can see that people can so easily get to that 7 or 8 in happiness, or 9 or 10, and yeah, we're all just hanging out at a 5. So if anybody wants help with anything, like feel free to shoot me an email, and we can jump on a phone call or text or whatever.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show.
No, absolutely. Thanks for having me on. It's been a wrap.